workplace safety is very important. Each and every day, your employer wants you to complete your shift injury-free. Now, it doesn't matter what department you work, whether food service, housekeeping, caregiving, clerical, it's important for every person to be safe in their workplace. Today, we are going to discuss some general principles of workplace safety, but it's very important that you receive job-specific training to the duties that you will perform, including any equipment or chemicals that you might use. 85 to 98% of all injuries are caused by unsafe acts of employees. Now, those acts may not be intentional, but that's why it's important for you to learn fundamental safety for your community. It's important that you report to work on time and well rested. You must be able to give your full attention to your job. Being rushed, taking shortcuts, is when injury can occur. Follow your community-specific protocols regarding uniform use. You will want to be wearing the appropriate attire at all times when you're working. Shoes are important as well. Make sure you're wearing flat shoes, not sandals, never an open-toed shoe. In some departments, you may be required to wear specialized shoes, such as steel toes. Always consult with your supervisor. Follow your workplace requirements regarding jewelry. In most residential care communities, we do not wear jewelry while working. It can pose a hazard. When working around machinery, make sure that your hair is tied back and away. Make sure that you do not have any type of loose clothing that could cause injury. You know, it may sound obvious, but make sure when you come to work you are never intoxicated. Make sure that your clothing is clean, your hygiene is good. Hands are washed, nails are appropriately trimmed. And also remember to follow all of your hand washing and hygiene protocols throughout the day while at work. Despite your best efforts, workplace injury or incidents might occur. Should an injury occur, you will always want to seek appropriate medical attention or first aid as needed. In the event of any life-threatening emergency, always call 911. Immediately report the occurrence to your supervisor. In addition to arranging for appropriate necessary care, there is important documentation that must be completed. Your supervisor will ask you several questions surrounding the occurrence. Always be honest and truthful whenever reporting any workplace injury or occurrences. Following the incident, your supervisor will conduct a full investigation. You will perhaps be interviewed again and asked to give even more detail. Every employer is required to maintain a first aid kit. Do you know where your first aid kits are located? If not, you will want to immediately consult with your supervisor at the end of this video. It's important for you to know where every first aid kit is located and how to access the first aid kits. The first aid kit must always be well stocked, so if you use supplies out of the first aid kit, make sure that it gets restocked appropriately. Basic housekeeping is important. Simply keeping our work areas clean and clutter-free can help make for a safe workplace. Be sure you wind up cords when you're finished using items. Make sure that spills are flagged and cleaned up right away, or notify the appropriate person for cleanup as per your community protocol. Always store tools and equipment properly. When through with a particular device, put it away. Don't leave it out where accidents can occur. If any work tool of yours is damaged or broken, notify your supervisor right away. Fire safety is an important part of workplace safety. During this training series, there is a complete video dedicated to evacuation and appropriate response to fire. But let's cover some of the basics. One of the first things you'll want to consider is to make sure that you can always easily exit the building. That's why we never want to block exits with housekeeping carts, furnishings, or other devices. Make sure the electrical panel is easily accessible. Nothing should ever be within 36 inches of an electrical panel. You will receive training from your supervisor on how to use a fire pole appropriately. Make sure you know the location of all your fire poles and your correct emergency response to fire within your community. Ergonomics is adapting tasks, tools, and work areas to the worker rather than the opposite. Technology often leads to employees doing a repetitive task over and over again. This can lead to cumulative trauma disorder. Cumulative trauma disorder is wear and tear on tendons, muscles, and nerves related to repetitive activities over a long period of time. Examples would include carpal tunnel syndrome and tendinitis. Symptoms may include tingling, numbness, chronic and worsening pain, decreased grip strength. Let's talk a little bit about repetition. This is sitting in the same position, performing the same task over and over. If you do repetitive tasks, such as computer data entry, take several short breaks throughout the day. Another risk factor for cumulative trauma disorder is force. This is excessive pressure that might result from filling out forms throughout the day. Be conscious of the actual force required to complete the task. Awkward posture is another risk factor. This is moving the body out of its natural alignment. This would include bending the back at the waist as opposed to the hips. Keep in natural alignment. Don't attempt unsafe tasks and ask for assistance or direction. The vast majority of employee falls are preventable. There is much you can do to ensure your safety within your workplace. Always scan the environment when walking. Do not be in such a rush that you could easily trip. Be very aware of change of surface, for example, going from a carpet to a tiled floor or going up and down a curb. Watch where you're walking. Be aware of areas that might be greasy or slick. For example, in the food service areas, as well as in laundry or maintenance workshop areas, are areas of high risk for slippery surfaces. But actually anywhere within the community can be slippery if there's been a spill of even water on the ground. That's why appropriate spill response is important to help prevent employee-related falls. Another very slippery surface is, of course, ice. For those of you working in cold weather climates, you'll certainly want to be aware of this if you go outside in between buildings within your community. Inside our walk-in freezers is another concern. It's very easy to have moisture build up on the flooring, and then there'll be a patch of ice that you could slip on. So always be aware when entering areas where there could be potentially slick ice that we could slip on. Kitchen and other high-risk areas should have appropriate non-slip mats. And it's always our job to make sure that those mats are aligned and properly placed. Sometimes it's necessary to use a ladder. Always inspect the ladder first to make sure that it is not defective or broken. Never stand on the top 2 steps of a ladder, as it can become top-heavy and cause you to fall. Now, I know it's tempting when you're in a hurry, but never use a makeshift ladder, such as a box or a trash can turned upside down or a chair. Always use an appropriate ladder that is safe to use. When coming down a ladder, always move slowly and carefully. Never jump off of a ladder. The best advice to prevent slips, trips, or falls is simply to pay attention to your environment. job may require that you work out of doors or in other heated environments. If that's the case, you will want to be aware of heat exhaustion or heat stroke, both of which can be a medical emergency. Symptoms include cramps, exhaustion, and feeling of faintness. Always seek immediate medical attention should you have any signs of heat exhaustion or heat stroke. To help prevent heat exhaustion, it's important to drink frequently small amounts of water. During times of extreme heat, this would be about 4 cups of water per hour. Some of you who work in larger communities may actually be around loading docks. There may be forklifts or other types of equipment used in these loading dock areas. Remember, before you're ever allowed to use a forklift, hand truck, or other device, you must receive specialized training. Now remember, the operators who are moving these supplies into our community can't always see or hear us, but we can see and hear them. So always yield the right-of-way to the forklift operator. Stand back away from operating equipment. If they are picking up a pallet or a set of boxes, never stand close to the boxes or pallet. Step well away so that the forklift operator can have you in line of sight and there is no possibility of you being injured by the equipment. When moving about a storage area, the general rule of thumb is to stay to the right when walking. When working around an operating forklift, also be fully aware to never stand between the forklift and a wall or other immovable object. It is too easy for you to become pinned in such a dangerous area. Never attempt to help the delivery person by stepping inside their truck or vehicle. Stand away and allow the delivery person to have full control over moving anything that's coming into the community. Sometimes during equipment repair within our community, it is sometimes necessary to use lockout or tagout to ensure that the equipment is completely de-energized before the repair begins. Lockout or tagout is used to prevent accidental starting during maintenance. It is required if the employee could be injured by unexpected energization of the equipment. All energy sources must be controlled: electric, pneumatic, hydraulic, etc. Residual pressure must be relieved. Multiple individuals working on equipment must apply their own lock or tag. If you see a lock or tag on a machine, do not use it. Only trained professionals should ever perform maintenance or repair equipment. Unless you have received specific training for maintenance of equipment, never touch it, never attempt a repair. Great workplace safety is everyone's responsibility. Thank you for taking time to view this video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to speak with your supervisor. Remember, you will receive additional training specific to your job duty at your workplace. Much success to you.